The problem with black women is that her love is a foregone conclusion, and I'm going to use some marketing principles to kind of illustrate this. So in order to alchemize and transmute testosterone, men have to have a healthy level of competition and discipline, and that's why you see men concentrated into sports, into the military, because these are structures that help them sort of transmute that masculine energy, because if unchecked, it becomes toxic.
Overarching theme that I'm hearing from him is just like, you know, black women need to choose better, and they need to, like, it's on black women to change black men. And those two things I disagree with wholeheartedly.
But this is why this conversation happens, is because male labor in her mind doesn't matter and doesn't exist.
I find this very interesting, but I was talking to my wife about this like a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about the diversity of intelligence that exists in human beings, right? Mainly between men and women. Like, basically, the diversity of intelligence that exists between men is more than the diversity of intelligence that exists between women, right? So, like, the dumbest like, there are more dumb men than there are dumb women, right? But there are also, when you talk about like the smartest, you know, like the highest intelligence or whatever the case may be, there are more of those people belonging to the men than there are the women. And that's just based on IQs or whatever. I'm not, you know, intelligence is graded a million different ways. I'm talking about based on the IQ, which we know is flawed, but let's just use that for a marker right now. That's not a good thing. It's pretty scary. It just shows you how volatile men are in my mind. Like, you could either be talking to the dumbest man. Do you know what I mean? You could either be talking to the dumbest person on the planet or the smartest person on the planet if you're talking to a man, right? But if you're talking to a woman, you're probably just talking to like on average, just like a fairly intelligent person. Maybe super intelligent, but more than likely just like a really intelligent person, which I would rather, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would rather just be talking to like a really or a fairly intelligent person than to be like, I don't need to talk to the most intelligent person, but I damn sure don't want to talk to the dumbest people on the fucking planet. You see what I'm saying? So it's interesting when I come across content that kind of perfectly encapsulates that. And I wish I could show you guys my timeline to prove this to you, but I literally came across these videos within two swipes. So I saw one video, swiped up, it was a different video, swiped up, then I saw this video. So 2 swipes, right? And it is the antithesis of what I'm explaining right now. Like, it is an intelligent man versus an extremely unintelligent man. And they're not arguing against each other, but they're on different ends of the spectrum. But more than any of that is, you have an honest man. That's also a thing that you find. Like, when you talk about like the diversity, the diversity, I mean, the most honest people on the planet, I think, are women. You know what I'm saying? But it's hard. What I'm saying is, like, there are honest men out there. You know what I'm saying? And it's, for me, it's very interesting when I come across content from men that are like seemingly honest and being open, you know what I mean, and accept certain things or whatever about men. I'm like, cool, this is refreshing, right? Probably the same way a lot of you guys, when you come across my content, I feel very similarly when I come across men who are open and honest, and I believe they're telling the truth and things of that nature. Because it is such a rarity. And it's such a rarity. Yeah, I won't say it's such a rarity, but those two men are linked. Like, the really smart men, the really logical, intelligent men, and the honest men are linked. I promise you they are. I promise you they are. And I just think this is a great example of this, you know, this dichotomy that exists within, you know, men, pretty much. I want to preface what I'm about to say, like, or what you're about to listen. I just want to say that I don't agree with everything he said. I think that he still has some work to do. I think he has a fair amount of work to do, but I hear what he's saying. I think he makes a lot of good points. I also don't like the fact that he's talking to women, and black women specifically, right? I'll be honest. But the things he's saying are relatively true, nonetheless, right? And I wish this message was more geared towards black men instead of black women, because I think black women actually understand this. But whatever, though. there are black women who needed to receive this message, and I read the comments, and there was a lot of black women agreeing with him. So whatever, however you want to receive it. I just wish men would talk to men more when it comes to this stuff. I think it goes a longer way. But and also I think that I'll let you know, because there's another part in here that I like. I'm like, I don't agree with that at all. But just listen. Oh, and also, yes, he's talking about black love, but he could be talking about men and women in general, but he's specifically talking about black women because there are unique circumstances that exist within the community of black women than in any, versus any other group of women. So I understand what he's speaking to.
The problem with black women is that her love is a foregone conclusion, and I'm going to use some marketing principles to kind of illustrate this. So if you look at luxury brands like let's say Ferrari or Birkin, if they're releasing a certain kind of bag or a certain model of vehicle, they're not going to release it to the general public. You have to be on a list, and you can't just buy your way onto this list. You have to be in the know. So you have to know someone to get on this list, because what these luxury retailers understand is by creating scarcity and exclusivity, it's increasing the value of their product. So, and alternatively, like if you ever go into a buffet, or if you go into a restaurant and you get more condiments and napkins than you need, or if you go to a buffet and you get several plates of food and you don't finish them, it's because people don't really value what comes at a low cost, what's essentially free. So because you are always there to be an emotional battery pack, you're there to provide, to be a stand-in for the,
Listen to everything he is describing, like the roles that black women specifically fulfill, but also the roles that most women feel in their lives, right? Like in the lives of men. Just listen to his breakdown of how black women are, you know what I'm saying? Like how they show up for their family and their community and so on and so forth. This is what I'm saying, with the intelligence and the honesty. This is the part.
To be an emotional battery pack, you're there to provide, to be a stand-in for the principles of protection, provision, and problem solving. You're there to take care of the kids. You're there to pay half the bills, if not the majority of the bills. You are there, and I think one of the biggest follies is that you are an endless supply of pussy. So the male incentive structure is such that he needs to be, in order to alchemize and transmute testosterone, men have to have a healthy level of competition and discipline. And that's why you see men concentrated into sports, into the military, because these are structures that help them sort of transmute that masculine energy, because if unchecked, it becomes toxic. So
that's one of the parts that I completely disagree with. The military is not a healthy way of transmuting your testosterone, and we don't need competition. Men, we don't need competition. Competition is, if you think about it, competition is almost unhealthy in every capacity. I know it seems like it's healthy, but if you really think about it, it does way more harm than good, in all honesty. It really does. Cooperation is what men need more of. And the military helps you cooperate, and team sports help you cooperate, but you brought up competition specifically. And I think you missed the opportunity to talk about cooperation versus opportunity. We need to learn how to harness our testosterone and focus and be aggressively cooperative, not competitive. Right? That's how we should adjust how we function in the world. So I completely disagree with that. And also, all masculinity is toxic per me.
So because he has unfettered access to you and unquestioned loyalty from you, he has no incentive to do better. So, and the thing about men is that they aren't inherently, the divine masculinity is cultivated. It is not an inherent quality. They need to see it patterned and demonstrated by men that they.
Also, that is contradicting, if I'm not mistaken. If it's divine, that means it's given to you. Like through you know what I'm saying? If it's divine, it was given to you by a higher power. It literally isn't innate, not inherent. You don't learn it. It's in you. Isn't that what it means? I could be wrong. You guys could correct me, but that's what divine masculinity means and divine femininity means, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Respect. Men are pack animals. So your very availability.
Also, we aren't men aren't pack animals. We're not a different species than from women. So if women aren't pack animals, but men are, then that means we're different species. We're not. We're the same species. We're all pack animals, or none of us are. And I go in, we're not pack animals. I don't believe that we're pack animals.
He has made him deficient because no matter what he does, he'll always have a place to stay, and he'll always have access to your body and your womb. So you're not going to be able to implore him to do better as long as he has no incentive. And you also have to keep in mind that for black men, the bar is so low that for some of us, like, we get celebrated just for finishing high school or finishing college. We don't, we're not honored for being present, you know, protectors and providers in the household. We get honored just for paying child support or just for even being in our children's lives. So like, it's going to be very difficult for you to actualize this black love fantasy. And what I'm saying is, you don't need to abandon all black men. I'm just saying it's just not enough of us to hold that frequency of divine masculinity, so that you're either going to have to share a man that is not qualified for you, or you're going to have to be celibate. Open yourself up, right? And don't grade any man on a curve, let alone black men. Hold men to a high standard. And go out there and make yourself available to all men, because it's really only until that happens that he's really going to have a true incentive to see what he's missing.
Yeah. So the overarching theme that I'm hearing from him is just like, you know, black women need to choose better, and they need to like, it's on black women to change black men. And those two things I disagree with wholeheartedly. That's what I'm saying. Like, I just don't, you know, but you know, I like, again, this message would have been so tight if he just would have focused on the middle part more. He could have used the, you know what I'm saying, the stuff about black women too, but like talking about from the male perspective, how we misuse black women and how we just assume that they're going to love us and that they're for us and da 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 da, and we take advantage of that. Like, that should have been the message. And I think that black women would have gotten the same like gratification and this, you know what I'm saying, from hearing a black man say that, but also black men would have, I think black men needed to hear that message more. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think black women would have been, you know, they definitely would have heard this video, came across your video and been like, thank you. Like, this is exactly what we have been saying, right? You would have got that same effect, but you would have been addressing the actual issue more. The issue isn't that black women aren't open enough. The issue isn't that black women aren't punishing black men enough by not choosing them or whatever. That's not the issue. The issue is the behaviors of black men, right? Like, that's all. Like, that's really the issue. That's what I would rather us focus on. And I'm really big on that. You guys know, like, that's really the whole crux of my channel, is just focusing on the behaviors of black men. I'm sorry, the behaviors of men, and also black men specifically, if need be. I just, you know, and again, I listened to the video because I think this brother is smart, and I don't think he meant anything. You know, usually I'd be thinking that these types of men are trying to manipulate women. I just think he has more work to do. I don't think he's gotten to that level of unpacking where he realizes that we should, as men, when we have these discussions, we should never be talking to women. We should never be talking about what women need to do better or what they need to be doing differently. We should only be focused on what men need to do different and what men need to do better. You know what I'm saying? In my mind, in my estimation, it just doesn't make any sense to talk about what women are doing, in my mind. And like I said, by talking about what men are doing, it does actually help women change their behavior. Just so you know, like, you don't need to address women to help women change their behavior. Women hear what you're saying about men and they adjust, right? So you don't even need to say anything about women in this regard. But anyways, because like I said, I just don't, I hear the undertones of that message, and it's pretty much like the same message that a lot of men kick. But I think his was more thought out, and he actually acknowledged some very important things. Two of the things was that black women do all the labor in the relationship, and black men are praised for doing next to nothing. And those are the 2 points I wanted you guys to take away from that video. Because 2 swipes down, I bump into a black man saying this, and this is what I'm talking about when I say, like, the difference in intelligence and in truth is completely, it's with men, it's just like, it's bad, it's crazy, it's so crazy. We're all over the place.
You, sir, are absolutely right. And for this, I drew a little picture.
Hold on, let's go back. I want you guys to read this dumbass comment he said. He said, if you check the math, women used to declare that, oh, no, I'm sorry. If you check the math, women used to declare that women do the majority of the work in relationships. You will quickly see it's unbalanced math. Okay.
Are absolutely right. And for this, I drew a little picture.
When we talk about equitable division of labor in the household, this is what we tend to think of, right? Is it always exactly 50-50? No, but just like humor me here. We see, this is how men generally see it. I do half the work, the woman does half the work. Maybe that's, some of it is manual labor, some of it is taking care of the kids, some of it is, washing, cooking, cleaning. But in that, we both do those things and we split it down the middle 50%. This is how men see it, right? The problem with this is how women see it. Women tend to see that their 50% of what's being done is all of what is being done in the household. So, like, this right here, even if there was an equitable split, this to that woman does not exist. All she sees is this here, and that's all that falls under the household. And the man here exists, maybe, possibly, but this is why this conversation happens, is because male labor in her mind doesn't matter and doesn't exist. And when I say her mind, I'm talking about the women, like, specifically that have this conversation. Some women get it and just makes sense. Over here, this could be mowing the lawn. This could be playing outside with the kids. This can be washing dishes. This can be whatever time of week that you cook, maybe order food. This can be whatever chores the man does. She will always see this just as an addition to the 100% that she does. She sees the man as like an assistant to what she does. Even if he's doing more than her, she still will see as the household is being upheld by 100% of the work that I do.
And a big proof of this is when, like, some wives will go, or girlfriends, whatever, will go on vacation and the house is perfectly fine. The man will have none of the problems that exist when the woman is there, because most of the problems are of her own doing. And she just doesn't realize it. She just thinks that's how people are supposed to live. He doesn't have these issues. If they have kids, a lot of time the kids.
What problems? What problems don't exist when you, first of all, you don't have a girlfriend. You definitely don't have a wife. You don't have kids. You don't have a girlfriend. You have nothing. You don't know shit about how households run. I guarantee you. You still will probably live with your mama. I can tell by the color, the paint on your walls. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't paint your bedroom that color. You either live in a dorm or you live with your mama. Let's be real. Anyways, no, that's not what's happening. That's not it. I promise you that's not it. When women leave, the house doesn't get taken care of. That's first. From the vast majority of the time, the men don't upkeep the house, right? That's number one. Number two, men don't do the labor to the same standards that women do. So when he says the problems are created by women, it's because women, I'm saying, even if I use his dumbass scenario, it's because women's standards are here, men's standards are here, and men are like, why are you trying so hard to maintain this high standard? Just come down here with me. But he wouldn't like it if she went down here with him, because nothing would get done, and then he would end up complaining. That's why.
Kids don't, like, have any issues. The kids are fine and taken care of. They're good. And the household runs fine and smooth without her there. And she cannot conceive how that's being done. Why? Because her 100% is not being done. Her 100%, and a lot of that 100% is just work that she created for herself, honestly. And I think, as like most men understand that. But she can't conceive it because my 100% of the work, which is all of the work that's being done, isn't being done. So how can he, as my assistant, be accomplishing any of this? They don't get that shit. And again, this isn't like an all woman kind of thing. It's the women that specifically, like, hang on to that conversation. And notwithstanding, yes, there are piece of shit men out there that exist. And I just don't understand why y'all keep marrying them. Because they were like that before you married them. And then you're surprised that they're still like that when you marry them. And surprised that they're still like that after you have kids. That's just weird. And you should just blame yourself for that. However, the vast majority of relationships have fairly equitable splits of labor. It's just that generally one person just overvalues the labor that they do.
No, that's not true. So let's break this down. I made my own chart. I made my own graph. If you guys will humor me here, because I don't really draw the best, and yeah, I don't have the best handwriting. But if you guys can see that right there, I wish I could put it on the screen. You know what I'm gonna do? Here, I'll help everybody out. So this is my chart. This is how mine looks. Okay, so at the top, you see it says physical labor in home, right? And it has a breakdown here. It says men do about 30% of the physical labor in home. 70% of the labor in home is done by the women, right? Then you go down. This is what it really looks like, because he forgot a lot. He left a lot out, which shows you how little he actually understands this. And you go to the second, chart, and it says that uh, labor outside of home. Women do about 40% of the labor outside the home. Men do 60% of the labor outside the home. That's fair. I think that's fair. 70% of women work in marriages. I do, and I do think that, we know that men make the majority of the money, blah, blah, blah. Fine. So 60-40 sounds good to me. But already right there, you see the numbers are off. So you got 30% of labor in home being done by men, and 40% of labor being done by women outside the home, right? So you're already off. But then where it really gets fucked up for men is down here at the mental load, right? So if you look at the mental load, women do 95% of the mental load. Men do 5% of the mental load. That little sliver, that's the men down there. They do 5% of the mental load, right? So when that woman goes on vacation, like that young man was talking about, she has to tell the man, she has to make a whole list of everything that man needs to do, because he doesn't do the majority of the labor in the home to know what needs to be done, when it needs to be done. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't know when to water the plants. He doesn't know how to open up the blinds. He doesn't know to make sure that your kids don't forget their iPads on the way to school for schoolwork. He doesn't know that on Wednesdays they have PEs, so you got to pack their uniforms. He doesn't make them he doesn't make them breakfast. He doesn't make them lunch. He doesn't make them dinner. He doesn't really know what they like. He's gonna have to ask them what they like. So she's gonna write out a list of what the kids like and their favorite snacks. And he's probably gonna have to go grocery shopping. So she's gonna have to write out a list. And then she, one of your kids has an allergy, so you're gonna have to know where the meds are for that, and how to apply the cream and the ointments, and run the bath water, and what time they should be going to sleep, and like all the things that you don't do on the daily as a man. She is going to have to coach you and tell you all of these things because you're not involved enough. And that's that mental load down there that women have to do for men. That's what I'm saying. And an honest man and an intelligent man would tell the truth about that. An honest man and an intelligent man would be very open about that and be like, yes, that's how society is set up because of gender roles. Women do more labor and blah, 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 right? But instead, you have these types of men that get on the internet and you have these types of men that get on the internet and they just lie. They just make up, they just fabricate stuff out of thin air and try to gaslight everybody into believing that women, though they are living these lives and they're actually experiencing these things, but they're wrong. They're not actually experiencing this stuff. It's all a figment of their imagination. That is top tier gaslighting. He is trying to gaslight a bunch of women that he's not even in a relationship with. You see what I'm saying? Like, I would understand him doing this if he was talking to his woman specifically, but he is talking to a bunch of strangers. And that's what he chooses to do. Like that shows you the sickness that exists within the minds of men when it comes to misogyny. So I hope that breakdown helped you better understand that you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Oh man, I think it's hilarious.